All right, good afternoon, friends. So, Stoicism. This is truly one of the greatest things. I wish you could just see my face while I don't know how to do. Anyway, you're just going to have to bear with me, friends. Stoicism is truly one of the greatest things philosophy and the human reason analyzing society has ever distilled. Okay, so some of you may have looked at the chapter on natural law, which is kind of based off this idea. And for the Greeks, they truly thought that uh, if you somehow I just feel like I should be talking to you, you know, that if you aligned your reason and intentions with the way the world was, that you would be happy, right? That like if you desired lots of material pleasures and riches, you'd be kind of craven and a slave. This is kind of, we talked about this with like Danatology, right? That like if you're a slave to your pleasures, you're not really free, right? Um, and that for Stoicism, no matter whether you were rich or poor, like your freedom was entirely in your possession. So Epictetus, who I have us look at sections from, uh, Epictetus was a slave. He didn't even own his own person. Um, and he still thought that he was free because he knew what was in his control. His body wasn't even in control. His will was his willpower. And you have Marcus Aurelius, who wrote the Meditations, who was how fascinating. He was literally the most powerful, the richest man in the entire world. And he told you that riches and power don't make you happy, and the people who will surround you when you have those things aren't worth being around. Okay. So literally the richest man in the world, the most powerful man in the world, Marcus Aurelius, told you that riches and power won't buy you happiness. Yeah. And a slave on the other end of the spectrum said the same thing. So I'm telling you, Stoicism is a philosophy that unlocks doors. Yeah. So let's have a little look-see, shall we? So I know this is kind of highfalutin and old and dead. I promise you this will be a shorter video than the last one, okay? So bear with me. Epictetus said, "Some things are in our control and others are not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, reputation, command, and in a word, whatever are not our own actions." And so, just right here, I would urge you to reflect on, do you agree with these things? Are these things in your control and not in your control? Because in the things not in the control, he says your body, your reputation, your property. Isn't your body in your control? Well, not if you have pimples, not if you're going through puberty, not if you feel certain feelings that your mind can't control. Is your reputation in your control? Well, no, your reputation could be sundered and slandered and bastardized by many people around you through no fault of your own, right? And so I'd urge you, like, truly, like, we like to think that our body is in our control and we're responsible for what it does, or if we feel a certain way or have a blemish or whatever, right? No, if you attach your happiness to things that are truly not in your control, and what does you think is in your control? Your actions, not your body, not your appearance, not your reputation, how you're perceived. The things you're perceived in are not in your control, friend. Little FYI, I promise you. um and so he says, "Remember then that if you suppose that things which are slavish by nature are also free, and that what belongs to others is your own, then you will be hindered. If you think that your reputation is in your control, you're going to be miserable. You will lament, you will be disturbed, and you will find fault both with gods and men. But if you suppose that only to be your own which is your own, and what belongs to others such as it really is, then no one will ever compel you to or restrain you. Further, you will find fault with no one, or accuse no one. You will do nothing against your will, no one will hurt you. You will have no enemies, and you will not be harmed." And as much as this sounds insane to most people, there's a reason I had us read Cato the Younger. Okay? This is what that looks like. Think about Cato the Younger. when his life is in peril, and he doesn't want people to beg for him. He wants no prayers for him, for he's unvanquished, unconquered. He gets to live as long as he chooses fit, right? Because he only aimed at mastering his own wants and desires. Like, he truly regulated his wishes, his will, his virtues to a very small subset. Yeah. I mean, this is otherwise these expressions like are very strange to interpret. But if you view it through that lens, you can see like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This is what it would have looked like, right? All right, friends. So it goes on to say, but if you are adverse to sickness or death or poverty, you will be wretched. Remove aversion then from all things that are not in your control. For can you control if someone gets sick or dies or falls into poverty? No, you can't. It's not in your control. And so if you attach your happiness to that thing, then you are going to suffer, right? Uh, with regard to whatever objects you give delight are useful or deeply loved, remember to tell yourself of what general nature they are, beginning for the most insignificant things. For example, and this is like when people read this, they think this is so bleak, and it is. He's like, compare your wife to a ceramic cup, right? Remember, do cups break? Mother flipping, yes. I have children. I promise you, your cups, your crystal, it's gonna break, right? And if you know that, then you shouldn't cry. You shouldn't be sad because you know what happens. So if you kiss your child or your wife, say that you kiss only things which are human, and thus you must not be disturbed if either of them dies. Like, people die every year, right? In the world, 5 million children under the age of 5 die every year from preventable diseases. Every year, it's a holocaust of the most innocent life dying. Yeah. Do we just have a conniption of it and like lose ourselves for a week and seek mental health? Well, not most of us. Yeah. And he's saying if you can develop your emotional resistance to that, a holocaust every year of children under 5, then you can adjust your emotional governor to respond the same way to your own life. Yeah. You may or may not, right? So he says, when you are going about any action, remind yourself what nature of the action is. If you're going to bath, let's say you're going to the bathhouse, to the YMCA, right? We all know the YMCA, the bathroom, the sauna. Picture to yourself the things which usually happen in the bath. Some people splash the water, some push, some use abusive language, oh my, and others steal. Thus, you will more safely go about this action if you say to yourself, I will now go to bath and keep my mind in a state compatible to nature. And in the same manner with regard to every other action. So if you know that when you drive through the Beltline in traffic, 5 o'clock, 9 a.m., right? You know the shit show that it is, pardon my French. Align your thinking to expect that, right? If you know when you go to Woodman's at 5 or 6 p.m. on a weekday or day before holiday, that's going to be our train wreck, the more you can project your expectations and your feelings into what it's likely to be, the less perturbed and thrown off and feeling like you're a victim. Because that's just the way it is. Are these people all out here because they're trying to cause you a strife and struggle? No, they're literally trying to live their own life. They don't give two toffs about you. Okay? And for you to take it personally is to live an immature, emotional life. Yeah? That's what he's saying. He's saying, hey, if you really want to live your life, you align your thinking. Don't wish for the way to be. Don't wish for the world to be the way you want it to be. Wish for the world to be the way it is, and align your will and wishes with it, and you'll be happy, right? Don't wish to be able to check off every list on your grocery list. Check off everything you can, and then see what's available and what would fit that, right? And literally, you will live a contented life. One of the greatest Stoics who ever lived, a man named Seneca, an old Greek guy, as it were. He said something to the effect of, I've achieved more luck in reaching happiness and satiating contentment by learning to restrict my passions and appetites than trying to satiate them and fulfill them. that literally just learning to regulate, find the mean between whatever our inclinations are. We don't get to want what we want, right? But we get to like manage how we interact with what we want, right? These wants just come in, right? You don't get to choose what comes into your head. You get to be a gate. If you're an intelligent human, you are a strict gatekeeper at the gates of your mind, right? You control what thoughts you let into your mind, how you think of them, how you repeat them, if you repeat them, or if you force other thoughts in. Because thoughts are like viruses, they're very dangerous. Um, so let me see what else we have to cover here. All right, I realize this is going on long. Let me finish up here. So, number 5, men are disturbed, not by things, but by the principles and notions which they form concerning things. Death, for instance, is not terrible, else it would have appeared so to Socrates. God bless Socrates. And, another great Senecal quote, just because I'm on the run here. He says, Death is so little to be feared that through his good offices, nothing is to be feared. Right? Everyone fears death. But really, what are the other things besides death we fear? We fear illness, we fear sickness, we fear imprisonment. Well, bad reputation. Well, death is the panacea for all this. Death is so little to be feared that through its good offices, nothing is to be feared. It's a powerful Stoic quote, right? Which, should not incline someone to be a nihilistic mindset, right? It really is this, like, no, like, I am a free, sovereign person, and all these things are mere stumbling blocks that in no way impede me. And so, again, whether you are a slave or Marcus Aurelius, consider when on a voyage your ship is anchored. If you go on shore to get water, you may along the way amuse yourself with picking along up a shellfish or an onion. However, your thoughts and continual attention ought to be bent toward the ship, waiting for the captain to call on board. You must then immediately leave all these things, otherwise you will be thrown into the ship, bound neck and feet like a sheep. So it is with life. If instead of an onion or a shellfish you are given a wife or child, that is fine. But if the captain calls, you must run to the ship, leaving them and regarding none of them. But if you are old, never go far from the ship, lest when you are called, you should be unable to come in time. And so, like, if you're a thinking human being, like, this should grate and, like, kind of repulse you, right? You want me to leave my child, my family behind just because of some Stoic philosophy? Just because I know that other people elsewhere lose loved ones and have to go on living? No, I'm not. I'm going to be attached. And he's saying, and if I had longer, I would relate this to Buddhism, because Stoicism and Buddhism are very closely aligned. For Buddhists believe that all suffering comes from your attachment to things. And if you just didn't cling to these attachments, which are very natural and perennial, then you wouldn't suffer when you lose them, right? Um, and so, like, believe me, I know if this grates against you, yeah, that like I feel it, and these are good instincts, yeah. So don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. Like, don't wish the world to be the way you want it to be. Wish the world to be the way it is, and like, guess what? You'll be flippin' content. You'll like your will align with reality, right? If you get your expectations align with reality, you'll be fine. um I know we're pretty much done here. uh Yeah, remember that you must behave in life as at a dinner party. Is anything brought around to you? Put out your hand and take your share with moderation. Does it pass by you? Don't stop it. Is it not yet come? Don't stretch your desire towards it, but wait till it reaches you. Do this regards to children, to a wife, to public posts, to riches, and you'll eventually be a worthy partner of the feast of the gods. And if you don't even take the things which are set before you, but are even able to reject them, then you will not only be a partner of the feast of the gods, but also of their empire. For by doing this, Diogenes, Heraclitus, and others like them deservedly became and were called divine. So he's like, live your life like the actor uh, in a play. Play the role you're given to the best of your abilities. Live life like a guest at a feast. You wait for those trays to come around, you take some, you don't cling to it, you let it go. You're gracious. Everything that has a beginning has an end, okay? One of the universal laws of all existence is that everything that comes to be arises for a time, abides, and then ceases. The more we can align our wishes, our will, our instincts, our emotions with the nature of the world, the, the easier life will be. I promise you. I promise you. So, I know this is a little long-winded. We're in good stuff though. Okay, if you are interested and do want more, let me know. I have plenty more material I can send you. Everyone have a great week, and let me know if you have any questions.